Abdul explored the mound of Nadi Nagar with its straggling fishermen's houses for the evening lights. There seemed to be no lights today. Perhaps it was early, though the fishermen, who had their food before dark to go for night fishing, did burn their hurricane lamps before twilight. Suddenly, he felt that the approach road crescent around Nadi Nagar seemed eerie. There were deep pits where the cart grooves had been. And oh, there was another giant tank, with its gun pointing to the sky, while some corpses lay scattered about. "Ma!" Abdul cried spontaneously, as he plunged into Karim's potato patch, to skirt round possible jinns of the spirits of dead soldiers and reach home. He was like a ball of tall fire, only made of straw. He felt he would soon burn out, fall and die. His father's potter yard was a clearing which the family had annexed from the edge of mosque by the grave of a peer. "Ma," the boy called, as though the aura of the peer's ghost was preventing him from crossing the field. If only Ali had not run away. And, for comfort, he called out to the she-donkey, "Oh Begum! Begum donkey! Are you ready loaded with the pitchers?" The momentum of fear of the ghosts carried him up the plinth of his father's yard. Horror! All the pitches lay broken. And, underneath the heap of baked clay, lay Begum, ashen white, with mouth open, the teeth jutting out. "Ma! Ya Allah!" Abdul's hoarse throat cried out. And he stumbled and fell on the heap of broken pitchers. For a moment he was stunned, his breath came and went quickly. His head swam. He felt he had bruised his knees on the edge of the hard-baked clay. His mouth was open, but no sound came from the jaws. His throat was parched. His body was covered with sweat. And this liquid mixed with his tears. He lay inert, as though to silence his shrieking nerves. His head was raised towards the straw hut above the plinth, which was his home. The cottage had caved in. He heaved himself up and made an effort to go and look for his father and mother, crying hysterically, "Ma? Ma? Where are you?" There was nothing inside the hole. Only the hookah of his father stood near the doorstep, looking like a question mark. Abdul tried to lift the fallen straw wall. He could not do so. He lay flat and burrowed into the gaping hole, calling, "Ma!" At the same time he was frightened that he might touch her dead body suddenly and the jinn of her spirit might come and catch him for comfort and he might be whisked off by the angel Gabriel to keep her company. There was nothing inside the hole. He explored the dark floor of the house with a sweep of his arms, anxious to find the dead bodies and yet crazed by fear and winning a protected whine. Why does a child cry? There was nothing for it but to stop and shout, "Ma!" Hoping that the more resourceful father might turn up, he at last cried out, "Papa?" There was no answer. Only the muggy warmth of the space under the caved-in straw roof filled his nostrils, mixed with the smell of his own sweat and wet earth. He crawled out slowly, feeling that he had hurt himself on the face and hands in, rubbing with the straw. As he emerged onto the plinth, he lay sweating and dazed and empty like the unbaked pitcher his father and always called him. Only, now he was not cracked, but broken. Where had they gone? Oh, where? He cried out without words. And where am I to go? Lying there on the level ground, he listened for any sounds that there might be, even of gunfire, or the gyrating wheels of tanks, or of the Fauci officers shouting orders. Peering into the half-light, he saw that the huts on the mound of Naughty Nugger had all caved in. And only the silence spoke back, charged with the eerie soundless shrieks of jinns and boots of the spirits of the dead. Master Ilyas had told the boys that the Faucis were razing villages to the ground. Ma, the shriek came out of his stomach, up his throat, and fell with a thud on the darkness. And there was emptiness again. A beetle whined far away, almost with the sound of a machine gun firing away in a cantonment. The sound came from the riverside. Ali, he might be there fishing. Abdul did not pause to think. If his mother and father were not there and other villagers had fled, the only person who might help him was Ali. He had seen his friend alive, running towards the Padma. He would go and look for him. And he must hang on to his friend now that he did not wish to pronounce the word to himself, and yet the word came up to his head. Orphan. But to mitigate the terror of the word, he thought, perhaps Ali is also an orphan. After the resolve to go and look for Ali, there was task of lifting himself up and going, past the Pir's tomb, to the Padma. Ma, he cried for help. His limbs were inert, as though he had died. And yet he heard his own breathing. I am alive, he told himself under his breath. Why does a child cry? His mother's nonsense verse came back to him. Why does the ant bite me? And he heaped himself, weak-kneed, but with his torso uplifted towards the star Venus, which had risen above the Padma. Curiously, the light of the bright star put faith in him to go through the dark. He felt for the gram in his pocket. There were some remnants of the monkey nuts from the morning. I will give Ali the nuts. And he will be my friend. Not quite sure, he, however, found enough strength in his legs to begin walking. The need to escape from the jinns helped him run a few steps at a time. He remembered the time Ali had saved him from drowning. Ali, he cried out as he reached the banana grove. Ali, wait for me. My friend, wait. And he felt a tremor go through him at the thought that he would put his arm around Ali's waist, as they had always done when they came back from truancy and had each other's support in spite of the fear of a beating from their parents. Ali, he called out into the dark.